they invited us to a dinner, some of the retailers. So we went to this dinner. And when I went in to have dinner, one of the people at IDDBA called out and said, "Voni, I saved a seat for you." I didn't know this person. I met them. And saying that, that was the beginning. That I said to myself, this made me feel like I was, part of it. Because one of my goals was not to just watch what's happening in the industry, but am I adding something? Am I adding something to the industry? And so that was so powerful for that person to call me over and to sit there. And from then on, every time it was a new person coming to IDDBA or coming to one of our committees or trying to, do things like that, I always bring them over and try to do the same thing for them.
Welcome to Fresh Take with IDDBA, your source for essential insights, trends, and professional growth in the dairy, deli, and bakery industries. I'm Kat Shanahan, Vice President of Marketing and Membership with IDDBA. Today, we are very excited to bring you another edition of Inside IDDBA, where you'll learn everything you need to know about our upcoming show. Today's guest spent 48 years at Giant Eagle, is a previous chairwoman of the IDDBA board. She's a two-time Top Women in Grocery Award winner who has attended nearly 30 IDDBA shows. Welcome to the podcast, Voni Woods.
Thank you very much. I love it, and I'm passionate about it.
I would hope that at 30 years, that's a lot of IDDBA shows. I'm glad that you still are engaged and that you're still finding enjoyment with it.
Yeah, not only do I come to the show, I come for the community, and there's so many people that they may be at maybe at one store or maybe at this job or maybe at this, and then they show up at a different one because that's what food is all about. And you know what I mean? Like they don't really ever leave. Mm-hmm. They come back. And it's one of those things that just makes you feel really good.
Well, we're excited to talk to you about the 30 IDDBA shows that you went to, but during that time, you also had a full-time day job. So tell us a little bit about your career history outside of the show before we get into the show piece of it.
Well, I was hungry. I was hungry for, I started off like 1976. I mean, you were probably born at that time, but, I was a deli manager, and I would, I was a manager at 18.
Wow.
They believed in me, and I was a go-getter, and I just kept wanting to do different things after you spend, 10 years in the deli, it's like, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? And, it's a way to build, where you're going to be. And, I remember this is a little bit off the track, but my dad, he was such a worker, and he had his own business, and he never, ever complained about going to work. Never. My dad came to me and he said, "You're going to go to college. You're going to pay for your own college. And you're going to go, work." He had a friend in the supermarket, and he said, "And you're going to be a court reporter." And I said, "Oh, what are you going to say? And so I did. I was a retailer, I was a deli manager, immediately a deli manager. And then I was doing court reporting, and I was training for 2 years, right in, with the judge. And you can imagine my dad's, delight when I told him I'm leaving college and I'm going to work in the supermarket. And he didn't, he wasn't not happy with that. But when you find a path in food, in retail, and, the growth that you can do, that you don't have to think of, okay, I'm going to be, working in the deli every day, or I'm going to working with cheese or something. That's not what you have this passion to say, okay, what's next? What can I do? What are the trends? How can I make it, more beautiful? And, I was able to be like a specialist. And then, then I was, they just kept giving me new jobs, and I just kept going up and up and up. And it was just the joy of my life. It was the joy of my life. So the last 15 years at Giant Eagle, I was a vice president of deli, bakery, prepared foods for 5 states. And I had the best team ever in the world. And I just loved it. And I just wish people, I know, I could wish people could think about this is a career. It's not just something I'm going to do so then I can find something else to do, because there's so much in food that you don't have to be a retailer. You don't have to be someone in the office. You can be someone on the road. You can be someone that's in a manufacturing. There's just so many things you can do. And it actually feels like a safe place, because everybody needs to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs to eat. And you're like, at least as a retailer, we're putting what we're doing on their table.
Yeah.
And, that's the way that we worked. So.
Did you ever imagine when you began your career, could you picture where it was going to go? Did you have a game plan? Did you have any idea, or was it all just?
I did. I was surprised that it happened, because I was practically the only woman. So it was a little bit difficult. I just started, having a women's group, and it grew to 400 people in maybe a half of a year. And it was just about, it's something that they wanted to do, but maybe afraid to talk about it. But it's having it for your career, to think about where you're going to be for the next step. How can I get to the next step? And a lot of people would say things like, well, I don't really want to do this, or I don't want to really do that. And somebody has a place for you, that grab it and take it and learn something new, and then go to another area of, food, and just keep going and just have your foot on the pedal. And that's something that really helped me, because I always wanted to see what was next. And the way that IDDBA ended on my plate is the first time that I went there, it was in the 90s. And I went there, and it was like, I don't know, I was just like shocked. I was just shocked of what I saw there, because I didn't really have the opportunity to go places and to see this kind of, what's out there. And, it just really helped my career. It really helped it a lot. And that was just the beginning. But I did know in my head where I wanted to be. And while sometimes it was true and I could move, and other times I couldn't. And I knew from, somebody that didn't want to promote me. And I remember complaining to my mom. I remember complaining that. And she said, well, wait, what's the matter with you? This is your problem. It's not their problem. It's your problem. So how are you going to attack it? How are you going to attack it and get that next step? How are you going to do that? And so, and I knew from the beginning the way I was going to do it is, number one, have a voice, and have a voice that's about community, not a voice that's going to say negativity. It's all about how are we going to keep doing this. And, I recognized some friends when I would go to IDDBA. And at first I didn't know anybody. My company said I could go. And so I went. I didn't know anyone. And I had, we had a dinner, and they invited us to a dinner, some of the retailers. So we went to this dinner, and, everybody's having a little maybe refreshments, before dinner. And, I'm standing there and someone would say, hi, I'm so-and-so. And I go, yeah, I'm Voni. And then I'd go, yeah, nice to meet you. And it was kind of like that. It was kind of awkward.
Yeah.
And then when we went in to have dinner, one of the people at IDDBA called out and said, Voni, I saved a seat for you. I didn't know this person. I met them, just kind of, and saying that was the beginning.
Yeah.
That I said to myself, this made me feel like I was, part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of my goals, because one of my goals was not to just watch what's happening in the industry, but am I adding something? Am I adding something to the industry? And so that was so powerful for that person to call me over and to sit there. And from then on, every time there was a new person coming to IDDBA or coming to one of our committees or trying to, do things like that, I always bring them over and try to do the same thing for them. So that's why I just love people, especially the ones in food.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just something there that you don't have to worry about, oh, wait a minute, I'm from one store and then that person's from another store and this one's from another store. Well, it was embedded to us that it was nothing about pricing, doing anything wrong like that, we always were kind of like put under the arm of IDDBA to say, what can you do? How can you be friends with people that you may be competing with?
Mm-hmm.
Yet we have rules for that. So it's just always been good.
That is an incredible first or early memory of coming to IDDBA. I'm so blown away that that was your experience, and so grateful that you've been able to give that experience to people that have come to their first shows after you started.
Yeah.
What else sticks out about your first IDDBA show?
Well,
I'm interested, as we're coming up on our show this summer, I'm interested to hear what the show was like 30 years ago.
Well, because of the, it's gotten, we have changed. It became bigger and bigger and bigger. And then in some ways, being bigger wasn't the greatest. And so we've had smaller booths, something that was comfortable and smaller a little bit. But then you can invite more vendors to show their wares,
Mm-hmm.
by having so many of those, in there. But I can give you a story that it really wasn't me. It was like I had this passion to bring my team to IDDBA. If it's just me, how are they going to totally understand what we're doing? And luckily, our company was very gracious about being able to get out of, our world and go out to the bigger world and see what's there. And I brought the senior director of Deli, and we got to it, and she was blown away. And so I said, let's start with the aisles. Okay, let's just, you and I walk, it's going to be a big show. We're going to walk and see some stuff, and we're going to start there. So we go down the first, well, she was taking tastes of everything that was going down that day. And then, so we get to aisle number 2, and we're in the middle of aisle number 2, and she's like turning green, like literally turning green. And I said, no, you got to pace yourself, because there's so much stuff that's so good and you want to try it, but you have to pace yourself for, so that was one thing that was on our mind. The other thing is there were so many people that were there that we work with every day. So they might be showing their wares, yet they want to spend some time with us. So we had to really make sure that we could make time with them, but it really wasn't a purpose for us because we were looking for other things, and you had to do it in a way that we still love who we have, yet we're there to find what's different. So that was something that we really wanted to do.
So it sounds like for you and for your team, finding new products, innovation was something that you sought, you wanted to pursue at the show. What were some of the other reasons that you felt like the IDDBA show was a non-negotiable that you had to go every year?
Well, it was a non-negotiable because nobody did it like we did.
Mm.
So there were other places that we went as well, but they were not, it was not the same. And so when I had some friends that I really encouraged to come, and it wasn't from my store, but I would say, why aren't you going? Like, what's the matter with you? You know, like you have to go and just spend a few days because it wasn't just about getting in there and then walking the whole show because there was other things available to us. It's available with the what's in store live. So as that got bigger and bigger, and that was a place to be, and a lot of it was bigger than we could ever use or have it in our area, but there was because it was over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And over the top was just showing you what could you do and how can you put it together with whatever else you were having. If it's, you can't just have the silo of, okay, I do this at my store. That's not the point. The point is what's new, what's trending, what can you add for your guests in your stores. And, that was pretty powerful, It was there was just a lot of things to do. You didn't have to just stand there. Okay, I'm going to be the bus person. Okay, I'm going to be the bus person. This will be my third year when I tell people, what are you doing? Well, I'm riding the bus. But, there's like 50 some people in each bus.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to be on that bus. I get to talk to all the people that decided that they want to come on Saturday because they're there early anyway. And what an opportunity that IDDBA is giving to these people to be able to come and have, maybe they bring their boss, maybe they bring, somebody else. And, we always had a big group, but that is really fun for these people. We go out ahead of time, especially the team at IDDBA, they find these places to go, and then, we go and we watch it again. And then the next day we can talk about it. Mm-hmm. And it's so good.
We are very excited for the retail tours this year. I'm excited that you were on one of the buses. I don't think when people register, they can specifically ask to be on your bus, but I can talk to Jeremy and Brandy and see if we can get that in the works. But if you are interested in joining Voni on the retail tours, you can sign up for that when you register for the show.
I hope you do because it's so fun. It's so fun to do it and see what other people are doing right in the world that you're going to be in.
Mm-hmm. I heard you mention that when you went to the show, you were often able to bring other team members with you. What is the benefit for an organization like the one you worked for sending multiple people to the show, for them experiencing that together, maybe from different departments?
Well, it is, dairy is slow and our, like, that really wasn't, we really want to get dairy to be there. And so we were working on that. So we did get a couple people that would come from dairy. And then we have a deli bakery and prepared foods. So we used that. And we tried to bring as many people as we could. And the reason is those are the people that are making it happen. Mm-hmm. I'm there leading them, but I'm not the doer, which I was the doer for years and kind of never really stopped. But you still have to have, it helps the category managers. I mean, to be able to do it, the directors that are there, they have to be there. They have to be there. They're
Mhm.
making a decision.
How were you able to apply what you either gained or learned or saw at the show when you got back to work? Do you have a favorite memory of bringing something back from the show that you were able to implement?
There's a lot. There was a company that just was a starter company. I just don't want to say the name of it, but they weren't even in the United States. And I loved it so much. And it was a pasta, and it was very, very new. This was years ago. And they really wanted to come to the United States, but they couldn't. They had to send it by cargo from
Mm.
Italy. They had to send it, and makes it frozen. So that really wasn't what we intended, but we loved the pasta and we wanted to do it. And they came, and they were building a place in Chicago, and it was going to take another 2 or 3 years, and they really needed someone to still have it on shelf so that they would understand what their product was.
Mhm.
And we said yes. And we stayed with them, even though it was a little bit hard because we wanted it to be fresh,
Yeah.
and we knew they were working towards it. And we had such it was just like we were family. By the
Mhm.
time they got it going, and now it's all over the whole United States and practically the world. But that was really that was just one of the good times that I could say they not only helped us, we helped them bring it to the United States.
And tell me how that conversation started. Did you stumble into their booth? Were you seeking out pasta options? Was it plan? I'm a compulsive planner. So I'll have the people I want to go visit and the booths I want to visit and the questions I need to answer. How did that happen? Was it happenstance or was it planned?
It was happenstance,
Mm,
yes, but we became real close after that.
yeah.
The owner, who I absolutely love, did not speak any English, and his daughter-in-law and his son, who came to the United States, they invited me and some of my team to New York, and because they wanted to have a little, like, just us together and
Yeah.
meet us, and they did, and it was fantastic. But no, yeah, it grew. It grew over time, but sometimes it clicks when
Yeah.
you meet people and you just know that they have something good, and that's something that's going to be new, and that you can, and then after a while, you're still looking at other things, and you're still thinking what's next. And it's not about, well, we loved having you in the beginning, but bye bye. It's not about that. Oh, it really isn't. But sometimes it does happen that way.
Yeah.
And you have to manage, like, your team has to manage it, and you have to do it in a way that we're still friends.
Mhm.
We may have to slow something down. We may have to, oh, we don't have room for this anymore, or it's not, the customers are not jumping towards it. And then, but I really still had those friends. I still have those friends today.
That's amazing. I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you used to prepare. So as a retailer, how did you prepare to come to IDDBA? Were you like me and putting together plans and research and reading all of the emails that IDDBA sends out? Or what was your strategy going into the show?
Our strategy was mostly, we had to be prepared to bring something back. So even though our company was very generous about wanting us to go and letting us go, and how many people and all that kind of stuff, but the goal was, what are you going to do and what are you going to bring back? And I want to see it.
Mhm.
So that part of it was, wasn't just to be fun. Like, what's the ROI on this? And
Mhm.
they'll really help us put it together. Because you can't just walk through it and say, I want that, and I want that, and I want that. And then you go to the next row, I want that. And you're pointing at it, and then your team's taking notes and saying they're going to do this. And that's really not the way to go, because you're not really using the data that you need. The opportunity is just crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy good.
absolutely. Do you have a favorite memory from your 30 shows? Is there something that sticks out as?
Of course, I do. I was being on the executive team, and then being president. I was first president of IDDBA, and then switched to being the chair. So I was chair, and it was just lovely. You wouldn't know Carol, because Carol was in charge, and she ended up passing away the following year that I was chairman, and I loved her. She was a man. She could get things done. It was just incredible, and but it was really a great moment for me. She started talking about me to 1,000 people in this big auditorium. I didn't know who she was talking about. I was just waiting there to give my speech, because the chair always has a speech. But she introduced me, and then she was going on, and I almost walked up those steps with tears, because it's so emotional. And I had so many people that I knew that was listening.
Yeah.
And so it was really great, wonderful. But the best was when I was able to do that for someone else.
Yeah.
Because I did a number of times. They said, would you like to say something about, yeah, I do. I do.
What advice do you have for those that might be attending the show for the first time?
So, number one, make sure you don't eat everything in sight just in the first two
I feel like that is very valuable.
Yes. Yes. Even though they want to, because if you can take just a little bit, then you can go back to what your favorite was. That. But I one of the things that I think that we have the morning, the things that are in the morning. People wake up in the morning, and some of them are having meetings, but other people can go into and hear people talk, whether it's the IDDBA people gonna talk to and say, this is where we're going. This is what's really on fire. This is, you're going to get a huge audience. And I really, really encourage, especially if it's your first one. And I'm thinking of my first ones. We have the craziest, wonderful people that would stop, and not stop, but talk to the group. And it may not anything about food, but they were invited to give a talk. And of course we had so many wonderful chefs that came and talked, and that's really powerful, because people want to hear about it. And then there was just it was just people that you could talk to. People that you could, that would come downstairs, like they would be upstairs, and then they could come down and walk the show. Not everybody did that, because depending on who they were, and had people with them, but I had the opportunity to meet 4 presidents of the United States.
Wow.
So it's the morning, I already had breakfast, and now I have someplace to go and someplace to learn. And I would really just encourage that, because there's so many people. The people that are up there are someone that are going to teach us something.
Yeah.
And it's just wonderful. And then we had celebrities, and we still do. And people wonder, like, well, wait a minute, why are you going to have this person, that has nothing to do? Well, yeah, it still has something to do with it. It has something, number one, to be a community, and to meet someone that maybe you didn't. And it was just something that was exciting. And then I get to go right into the show, and that's more exciting.
Well, Voni, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate everything you've done for the IDDBA community and for hanging out and spending some time with us today.
I just think that it's just such an opportunity. I get to go to IDDBA and I get to talk to all the new presenters, not the people that are new coming in. Maybe we'll do something about that someday too. But to be able for me to maybe have a list of 50 or 60 new exhibitors,
Mm-hmm.
and I get to talk to them and say, and what I noticed after this will be my third year of doing it, the first thing they say is, I want to be here for next year. So what do I do? And that was like the biggest thing. And that's just like, okay, I'm a retailer and I would be kind of just in my own world.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that world is. And that's extremely exciting.
Thank you again for joining us today.
Okay, well, thank you for having me.
If you'd like to join Voni and I at this year's IDDBA show, head to our website and register for your badge, book your hotel, and sign up for our retail tours. As a reminder, IDDBA's retail members attend the show for free. You can also become a member prior to the show to access that free registration if you are not a member already. Fresh Take with IDDBA drops 2 episodes a month on the first and third Tuesdays. Our next episode will feature our What's in Store series, bringing you the latest market trends you need to know. To ensure you don't miss that, hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you for tuning in to Fresh Take with IDDBA.